Well, welcome. Today, we're going to talk to a couple people from a group that helps out a lot of businesses, not just in Milford, but the whole area, that frankly, a lot of people don't actually understand everything they offer. So we've asked our local Chamber of Commerce to come on and enlighten us. So why don't we start with introductions?
Hi, Al. I am Siobhan Bohnson. I'm the Milford Area Chamber of Commerce President and CEO, and I love my job. I love the area. I've been doing it 1 year and 9 months to date, and I keep coming back, and you never know what tomorrow brings.
And I love Siobhan, loving her job. I'm Dave Price. I'm president and owner of Bright Star Care. We do home care and skilled nursing. That's my full-time job, and I am serving as the chairman of the board of directors for the chamber.
And you've been helping out at the medical center and lots of other places.
I wear a number of different hats, so I've been told to keep my hand down next time I'm asked.
Siobhan, basic question. What is the Chamber of Commerce?
Chamber of Commerce is one of the best kept secrets in the area. We connect people to other businesses. We connect the community to the businesses. We do networking, but we also have educational classes. And a lot of people don't know that, and we serve 10 towns. We have Bellingham, Franklin, Holliston, Hopkinton, Hopedale, Medway, Mendon, Milford, Millis, and Upton. So it's not just the businesses in Milford. So if you have an interest in business, you really need to connect with the chamber because there are many programs that we offer to help you.
So you've got 10 communities that you're helping out.
Right.
And a lot of people just think, okay, so you get everybody together for a nice lunch.
Right.
But there's a lot more that goes into it.
Absolutely. Like I said, we have educational classes that are free. We just started a boot camp. There were 12 classes from everything to starting up a business, to maintaining it, to reaching out on media and how to get the best purpose and area for your business. We also have the ability that you can come in and have an appointment for no charge, meet a representative from SCORE, Retired Business Execs, and they'll help you. That's another thing that we offer. They come to us in our office twice a month. We also have representatives from the SBA. They also come in twice a month. So that's a great plus. And also, if you have your business in your home and you want to meet a client, if you're a member of us, you can use one of our offices at no charge. So instead of meeting in your house and have a meeting, you can come to a call, obviously, set an appointment, and we'll give you the office space. There's a lot of connecting going on, and it's not just business after hours. We have really changed things. We have now, with the help of Waters Corporation and Baxtel, we now have been giving 7 $1,000 scholarships out to graduating seniors of all our community schools. That's huge. That's how we connect back to the community and to show our support throughout the community that we serve.
Let's take a step and define, when you say you support the businesses, there is a perception, probably erroneous, but that the Chamber of Commerce was important when we had, all of the business on Main Street. But now that you have, the consolidations going on, why does a Staples, a Best Buy, are they even part of the Chamber of Commerce, and why do they need you?
They are. We have big companies, we have small companies, we have medium companies. Those big companies may need to reach out to a small company at some point. They do it sometimes just to show their community and that they are willing to work with the community, but we have been able to connect many people in different areas and on all levels. Just like our board, we have 17 on our board. We have many members.
17 board members?
Board members, yes. It's
My God,
very
talk
interesting.
about herding cats.
But we've got a lot done this year, too. They've been so supportive.
It's an excellent board.
It is, and like I said, they have been so supportive in many ways.
Siobhan, or Dave, I am a big box store.
Mm-hmm.
I have a marketing department. I've got people who specialize in getting the message out to customers. Why do I need you?
Let me give you an example. So I started my business 5 years ago, franchise model. And as I set up my headquarters here in Milford, I needed to reach out and select my vendors. And one of the first thing I did the day after I joined the business was I went to the Milford Area Chamber of Commerce Business Expo at BBT in March 2010, and I went looking for a bank, I went looking for my office product supply person, et cetera, and I selected all of those vendors based on who was
So
participating
even if I'm
in
a
the
big
chamber.
box store, I'm gonna get some benefit because I'm gonna be able to learn. I mean, I don't wanna be trite, but where do I buy my pencils? Where do I buy my toilet paper? You
The
know?
other-
Right. Yeah, you'd be amazed at what I spend on office supplies in my office
Well, I mean,
every
we
week.
laugh about it till you
right.
look at that line item in the, you know, in the quarterly,
Yeah.
and you say, how much are we spending on office supplies?
And
Right.
I have a choice to go to the small business owner as part of the chamber or to go to the big box store. And the chamber helps make that connection.
The other part of that is if I am a big box store, I have many employees. So when you belong to the chamber, all of those employees can attend any of our events. So what better place to meet local business people than at an event that the chamber is putting on? We have one very strong group, it's called Connecting Women Leaders. So maybe we're doing a class on networking or socialization, and you have women working for you. They can attend the lunch, listen to the speaker that we have, and there could be new business for you down the road. It's really many opportunities for people to actually sit and get to know what you do as a business and what your
But
needs
it's
are.
not even, I mean, you take like a Waters.
Mhm.
I doubt you're gonna sell many mass specs on Main Street. So, you know.
I just bought one yesterday.
Yeah, there you go. But realistically, what you're saying that really makes sense is, for no cost or minimal, I can help my employees improve themselves, their efficiency, even if they're in a multi-billion-dollar company.
Right,
Right.
but also it shows that Waters is invested into the community because they are very strong within
Sure.
the chamber.
strong.
So that is a huge positive for everybody.
And if you think it from a talent perspective, at a very high level, Waters wants to attract the best employees. They are obviously a very complex product and business that they run. So they want to attract very, very high talent. They want a vibrant community for that talent to reside in, and they want it to be attractive. So lots of infrastructure is important. So they want a healthy business community. They don't want to be attracting their employees to a ghost town, if you will. So for them, there's just a very strategic interest in having a strong community and being that community player.
Yeah, I mean, the strategic part is what people forget, is that if you can attract, I mean, if you have to commute an hour, at the end of the day, that comes off the workload. You know, if I've got to spend
Right.
2 hours in a car, no matter what I say, that's 2 hours that I could be working. You know, I remember having to leave the office, well, having to leave my house at 5:30
Right,
when I was commuting to Brighton, because between 5:30 and 6, I could get my coffee and be in the lab in 45 minutes.
yeah.
At 7 o'clock, if I had to drop off my daughters for anything, it was an hour and a half. And no matter what, that's just dead time. So attracting people close to the office, it just has to give you that unquantitatable, you know, extra productivity and time.
Right. And for the smaller companies, it's not unusual that we get phone calls. I'm moving to the area. Do you have a real estate agent? Do you have somebody, I need some work done on my house. Can you recommend somebody, you know, that belongs to the chamber? Because people feel that when you call the chamber and anybody that is listed as a member is a good business person. So we do referrals like that all the time to different types of businesses in the area. And I got a phone call a couple weeks ago, somebody was coming from California, and they were, you know, looking for a hotel, and they were visiting somebody in the area, not in Milford, but of course, you know, we have our members and we give that information right out. So it's not just working within the business community, it's also helping to welcome people to the area. I don't live in the area, but I help with the area to promote the area, and that's part of my job.
Well, I mean, anything you can do to help people at the center of the universe here in Milford. As I've always said, 28,000 of us know Milford's the center of the universe. There's about 6 billion need to be educated.
Right.
But,
Good numbers.
but anything we can do, I mean, when I think of the medical center, Frank and Ed, even Uncle Phil always have heart attacks when I call it the Little Red Medical Center, because I was born in the Little Red Building.
Oh, okay.
It was a tiny little red building, and now you look at what's available.
It's amazing.
And you never really know it until my mom was diagnosed with intestinal cancer 10 years ago. And the care she got was top notch. There wouldn't be an issue that if we had to leave Milford to go to Boston, to go to the Farber on Binney Street, we would have gone. It's my mother, right?
Right.
But we didn't have to. So you start seeing that infrastructure and what an incredible asset that, Phil, Ed, and Frank have built here for us.
Absolutely. One of a kind. And they're also members, so they also see the benefit to belonging to the chamber, and they support us tremendously. So no matter how small or how large you are, there is a spot for you in our chamber.
Well, I can see it if I'm starting out. Maybe you can give us some history. Okay, I'm coming to Milford, I'm starting a business. How do I reach out to potential customers?
Chamber is a great way of going about it. And just to share a little bit of my background, I had 24 years in high-tech manufacturing prior to starting Brightstar. And in the world of high-tech manufacturing, my customers were all over the world, and they were other companies like EMC, for instance. So I never saw the end consumer of my product. And as I went to do something different, I didn't understand small business ownership at all. I understood the corporate world very well. I didn't understand small business ownership. I wound up going with the franchise model because it's in the middle. You have the support of the corporate side, and you have the flexibility of small business ownership, but there's still much I needed to learn. So the first place I went was the chamber, and the chamber was very good about making those connections. And there's also something about if you have any sense of learning agility, you assimilate a lot of knowledge by being around the right kind of people. So when you, for instance, have the honor of serving on a board of directors, you're in the room with 1 plus 16 other really smart people, and you really learn a lot in that process. So the chamber is a very, very good way of just learning from other people who have done it. So yes, you will learn a lot going back to school, but I'm not aware of a degree in small business ownership. Maybe one exists, but no better place to get it than by doing it and having the support of an organization like the chamber.
Well, a lot of papers have gone into indicating, everything from small medical, that physicians are probably the worst business owners because they pay attention to their patients like they're supposed to. I can see you're taking care of our grandmothers, our grandfathers. I don't want to hear you're running a perfect business and ignoring the grandparents.
Right.
So it's got to be a hard balance for somebody. Getting started must have been, that's a leap of faith that I admire because, okay, you're coming from a nice, solid paycheck in the high-tech world, and all of a sudden, what happens?
It was a leap of faith, and I'm fortunate I have a very strong, supportive wife, and between all of us, we've gotten through it. But it does take a lot of hard work and a lot of support to get there. And again, the Chamber of Commerce was the first place I went to kind of get that support and get that infrastructure. And it was through the chamber that I got the introduction to some of the folks at the hospital, and I've worked closely with the medical center, as you mentioned. It's because it's a tremendous organization, and we help each other quite a bit.
It's always amazing because this past weekend something happened to me I didn't think was possible. I fell more in love with my darling bride. After 100 years of marriage, it was a particularly trying week. 2 deaths in the family this
Sorry to hear
weekend.
Sorry.
Well, 1 death of a very special man, and a woman who was put in the hospital who was like a second mother. And it's just amazing how well your spouse helps you.
Right.
You know, and then the stock market and some of the business issues have crept up, and nothing fazed her. You know, it was so much easier coming home, having that rock.
Yep.
You know, and you sit there, and after 100 years of marriage, that she can still make me feel the way she does was incredible.
That's
And
pretty
I would im-
terrific.
You know, you got to figure that people starting their business, you know, okay, so I have a concept. I'm going to take care of your grandmother, grandfather. Okay, where's the accounting department? Well, you got the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But we can also help you improve your business, because once you get off the ground, it just doesn't stop there. I also had run my own business years ago, and you bring it so far, but then you want to take it to the next step. And that is another role that the chamber can help you create.
So if I've got an idea, I'm going to come into the chamber and say, I want to have a hot dog stand. Okay, I got to identify where I'm going to buy my hot dogs,
Right.
you know, and all the gazintas.
Right.
You know, all the vendors, like you said, is
Right.
we joke about, but okay, I'm going to have an office. I need to buy pencils and toilet paper and paper and all the other stuff. So you can help me identify who are the best. Do I go to, you know, do I go to Frank at Frank's Appliance and buy things, or do I go to the big box store?
Right. We would sit down. We've had a few businesses come in town, and I would say before they opened, and Family Pharmacy is a member, and this is the one I'm using, I probably spent 4 months with them, about 4 hours every week, to sit down and talk to them, see what they were thinking. They did talk to our SBA rep as well, so that is something that, you know, we really get involved with. We gave them a lot of information to look at. They had done a lot of research, obviously, ahead of time, and we did a ribbon cutting for them. So we will help you walk through the process.
So you help me get started,
Right.
and all the critical gazintas.
And
Now, you're sitting there saying, okay, I have a facility, I've hired the right staff. How do I reach out and get patients? Who do I talk to?
So, and let me back up just on to share a story about starting and getting connected. Before I actually made the decision to start Bright Star, when I was going through my kind of career change evaluation process, I reached out to SCORE. Siobhan mentioned SCORE.
Score what? What's a
So-
score?
It's retired executives who, and they're not always retired, but they basically are helping businesses as basically free consultants. So I met with 2 SCORE reps before I opened my business, who gave me some great advice. And then as I was opening, I met with John Rainey from the Small Business Development Corporation, again, another connection via the chamber, who recommended the accountant that I wound up using and connected me to my legal counsel, who I'm using to this day. So again, some great recommendations to get going. So it's not just in theory, it's exactly
That's got to
the
be
process I went
critical,
through.
because I mean, realistically, I can go to the book, and every lawyer,
Right.
they all look good, bad, and you know, whatever you want to call it. But having somebody say, I've used so-and-so, you know, the personality, the chemistry will do well with you.
Absolutely.
Right.
And we have such a great stream of people that are members of the chamber. And as Dave said, has used, you know, different people. We just had the human resource laws are changing, or they changed as of July 1st. We offered a seminar on the impact to the small business. Myrick O'Connell, who's a member, came in and did a 2-hour class on the impact to our members. And that was free, but they all walked away. We had about 10 people attend, which is not huge, but it's a great number, because there can be a lot of one-on-one and great questions asked, and nobody's intimidated. They all walked out of there with a lot of information, feeling a lot better that they knew more than when they walked in the door.
Well, especially
That's part of what we do.
HR issues. I certainly
Right.
want to learn before
Right.
there's an issue, than to learn on the back end that, let's say, unintentionally,
Right.
you
Something-
have crossed the line, and you learn from a lawyer.
Right. And if you contact us and you have a business and you say, like Dave, he needs to connect with certain people. Our new ambassador program will help you do that. What we've done is we've created an ambassador program, so there will be members within the chamber that will be at different events, and you will be assigned basically one person, and they will be introducing you to other members that you want to meet. It could be a bookkeeper, it could be the lawyers, whatever people you are trying to meet, we're going to basically call you before the meeting, have you be introduced, and then walk into a room that you're not alone and you don't know anybody, and take that fear away. And you'll have somebody there to help you, and then they'll check back with you to say, did you meet the right people? Who else can we help you with? You can go through a list of members and say, oh, I'd like to meet this person and this person. And if we can arrange that, which we have done, even if it doesn't happen at a business after hours or a business during hours that we do now, we will make that connection and work you through that. I just did that between a training company last week and Dean College. I connected Dean College because I'd had a couple meetings with them and they were looking for a certain training, and I made that introduction 2 weeks ago.
So now, SCORE. How do you compensate these executives? Is it equity? I mean, most of the time when you start out, every dollar you have is going in the business.
They volunteer. They volunteer.
So it's
their
pure
time.
volunteer.
Pure volunteer. It's an excellent opportunity.
As well as SBA, they're the small business people, and they work. John Rainey comes, as Dave mentioned, twice a month to our office.
But SBA people are getting paid.
And that's through Clark University, right?
I
But
was gonna
SCORE
say,
is volunteered.
They're getting compensated.
Yeah.
They're doing their job.
Right,
I
right.
don't want to take anything away.
Yeah,
but,
no, SCORE doesn't, SBA does.
But SCORE, you can get senior execs.
And they're not all retired. In fact, this SCORE, because it's
Right, we have a
Chris, we have a couple, and one of the newer ones, a gentleman I know very well, Chris Bett, is an incredible, has an incredible head on his shoulders, and he's my age, so he's really young.
Nice way of putting it.
And we've just brought SCORE in this past 7 months. They were not associated with our chamber. They have been associated with other chambers, but we reached out, made that connection, and now they have clients coming to us, which I think is great. Right in our office. You don't even have to go far. You can come right to Milford and have an
I'm
appointment.
fascinated because when we picked up Unison out in California, our CEO, our CFO moved. I stayed, and I commuted a couple times a week. But the day I was here, I needed a place just to have an office. And I went down, back in the ancient times, I rented a room,
Yep.
at a corporate business center, and it was about $700 a month that I paid to have a little office and use of a conference room when I had clients, and fax machine, well, back then fax, photocopier. But it sounds like the chamber people can borrow an office for a meeting
You can.
without renting one.
Absolutely. We even have people in our building who don't have a color printer that are members. They'll email us and say, can you print one of these up for us? And of course we will. That's what the chamber is supposed to do, help all businesses within the community. And it's our job to make sure if you have a need that we can fulfill, that we're there to fill it.
So you may keep somebody from having to rent one of these corporate offices, the incubator type offices.
Absolutely. We have had, I'd say in the last 7 months, we've had the separate office used about 8 times. Somebody said, I work in my home.
Right.
I need to get away from the kids. Can I just come in and use the office? I said, absolutely. This is the hours it's available. Please come in. She used it a good 12 times.
Well, you know what I'm thinking of more than I got to get away from the kids, the dog, the
Yeah.
cat, all the other farm animals. There's a whole different atmosphere. If I say, Dave, I want to meet with you,
Right.
bringing
Right.
you into an occupied office area, it always
Versus your
feels
kitchen
different
table.
than, hey,
Yeah.
meet me at my kitchen table.
Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
image just doesn't
Yep.
feel the same.
And maybe a more practical example, and this isn't the primary thrust of the chamber, but it is something the chamber offers. But another example could be somebody who covers a very broad geography and might have clients all over Massachusetts, and they spend Tuesdays, for the sake of argument, in Milford. So maybe if they can meet some clients and have a meeting or two at the chamber office on a Tuesday. That type of situation could be common. And again, that would be one of the benefits for that person who may live in Andover to belong to the chamber and get connected here. In
No,
multiple ways.
that's wonderful. Now, as far as being a member,
Yes.
I'm a little guy. I'm
Yeah.
starting a business. Can I afford to be a member?
Of course you can. We've
You
worked
can't
out.
afford not to be.
Yeah,
Well, no, but
that's
I'm
more
thinking like
of it.
Mass Bio for our side of the world. Wonderful advocacy group, but the minimum was $3,000 to get in.
Take a zero off of that.
Well, but you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
when you sat there and you said, okay, if I'm a consultant or I'm starting a business and it's going to cost me $300 a month, I mean, that's kind of, well, you know what it's like.
That's
It's
high.
kind of tough.
Yeah.
So
And we work with people. You know, it's not like if you're just starting out and we really have a good feel and you're going to be active within the community. I now have put people on payment plans. People that, you know, cash flow might be tight. I have also put them on payment plans. We will work with the community because you're going to benefit and we're going to benefit.
But you're saying I could get in early for hundreds,
yeah.
not
Right.
thousands.
Oh, right,
Right,
absolutely.
You know,
So for three, let me give you an example. For $300, you could join the chamber, right?
Right.
So small business owner, $300. You think put some value on a small business owner's time, $50 an hour, probably a good number for a small business owner, maybe more, and think of how much time you would need to go through a gatekeeper
Sure.
to get to some of the people you want to get to. How many dozens of donuts are you taking? Whatever your sales approach is. Versus you join the chamber and suddenly you get a warm introduction with somebody who understands what it's like to do business with somebody locally, and boom, you're there. You're saving not just your time, but calendar time too. How many months of the selling process did you just compress into one meeting for $300?
Well, the
it's priceless.
access alone, you know, and again, I use the NBC because that was something I was involved in. It was hard for some of these starting, you know,
Right.
people starting their businesses to pony out $3,000.
I can understand that.
You know, and you know, if okay, once you've hit your first billion, a few $1,000s
Is-
probably
yeah.
is not that critical to you. You're going to do it out of the like waters, out of the goodness of your heart,
Right,
to help the rest of the community.
right.
But that's really good to hear that it's a reasonable amount of money that people can put in.
It's very reasonable, and the value of what you get back and how you work your membership and the effort that you put in is so much better than, like Dave said, trying to go to a company and trying to get that, you know, gatekeeper to open the door, because we've already done that
But
for
you
you.
may not even know who to ask for.
Exactly,
right.
Exactly.
You know, okay,
Right.
if I know it's Dave, okay, at least I got a shot at saying I want to talk to him.
Right,
But as the companies get bigger, if I want to go into a Waters, okay, probably not. If I want to sell a supply to them, probably not going to say, okay, Art Caputo, can I see him?
Right.
right,
Yeah.
right,
He's probably not going to be
Right,
involved
yeah.
in buying the pencils.
right,
right.
absolutely.
So having somebody tell you that, hey, at Waters you should talk to,
Absolutely.
you know, so-and-so.
And if you think about it in terms of affordability, the cup of coffee you're picking up right now, I love Dunkin' Donuts coffee too, so this is nothing negative on Dunkin' Donuts, but for half the price of that cup of coffee, you can have that kind of access on a daily basis, that kind
Right.
of connection, that kind of help. So you think of what that's worth and how
And Dave,
affordable
it's not
that
just
is.
the money. I mean, you think about when you're first starting out, you know, there's always the balance of, okay, am I going to spend my time making sure that Al's mother is comfortable? Or I'm going to go out and try and get Siobhan to give me her mother or father.
Right,
So the sales operation balance has got to be the hardest thing that I've seen small business owners.
right,
You know, you joke about, okay, who's doing your marketing? Well, the guy in the mirror.
Right.
You know,
Right.
who's doing your sales? Well, when he's done with the marketing, he can do
Yeah,
the
the sales,
sales,
right.
or
Right.
she can do the sales. It just, you know, and then what ends up happening is you lean on your family.
Yeah, and you mentioned your wife before, and you know, a voice of experience. I have a tremendously amazing wife, and who is very supportive in many ways and has a good business head on her shoulder as well. And fortunately, she's stayed with her career as, we've been getting the Bright Star operation up and running, but having that support is just amazing. I'm blessed to have somebody who really
And it's
who
the
kinda
11
gets it.
o'clock when she's finally shut her computer off, getting that last press release of the day. It's like, okay, now I need your advice on this.
Right.
Yeah.
Not having to put that burden on a family member, or my daughter who's now doing PR
Right.
for Ogilvy.
Yep.
It's so funny when she sees, Dad, you should have done this on this press release. Dad, why aren't you? It's
Yeah.
like, you kind of feel good, but you feel bad sometimes.
Right.
Oh, you learn it for the next time.
Yeah, and you don't want to lean on them unless you have to.
Right. I mean, and the other thing we do as a member is you get listed on our website. So if somebody's on our website and they need a bookkeeper, they can go right into our listing under the bookkeepers. Your company will come up, and if you have a website, you click on that company's name, it goes right to your website. So that alone is another great way of networking without having to be in the room to network.
And that was one of the great things like the Mass Biotech Council did, is they had their 300 members,
Yeah,
and you could go right there.
yeah,
And you learned, what they did, and go right to their website if you're
Right.
looking for a job, if you look, whatever they've posted. You didn't have to hunt down.
right.
So I can imagine if I'm looking for somebody that supplies XYZ service, I'm going to feel a lot better going through a local organization.
Absolutely. Like I said to you earlier, that's one reason we get the phone calls. Some people will see it on the website and call and say, can you help me out? Do you know anything else about this company? And we make sure we connect them to the right person. It's all connecting and helping to educate, which we have done a lot of educational programs since I came and working with the board. A lot of the board members stepped up, which was great, and actually did the classes for our members. And what a great source of information.
Well, now, I join. How do you know if I'm a good business or if I'm not really a stellar business?
You'd be surprised at how many phone calls we get if you're not stellar. It's happened more than once, like, do not recommend this person. But overall, I would say 99.9% of our businesses are exceptional. And I actually did have a complaint from somebody. I called the business owner. Business owner got right on that phone, called me back and said it's cleared up. I talked to the customer, it was cleared up. Business owner had no idea there was a problem. So in that way, I helped him to save some bad PR going out, by going the extra step, and he was very happy with that we took that upon ourselves to do that. And
Because
didn't
that's always, the rumor, Better Business Bureau, if they pay enough money, they get a good
good
recommendation.
rating. Yeah,
And you sit there and say, well, I don't want a bot rating.
exactly.
I want to be able to call you and say, hey, I'm looking for somebody
Yeah,
that does this, does roofing.
right. Especially
know,
after this winter. We had plenty of those phone calls.
And I don't want to find out that it's, Okefenokee Roofers, been in business a month, and they'll come in and paint my roof and not do the work.
Right. And I know people say sometimes, the chamber just has business after hours, or we now do business during hours. We also have lunch to learn, which is something else we've introduced. You can come in for inexpensive lunch, and we'll have a topic of conversation to help gain some knowledge and an interest if that's area of interest to you. But then we also have really tried to get the topics that our members are interested in. Like, social media is huge. That's how people are trying to learn more things about, and we have 5 classes coming up between September and October tied into social media, how to get the most for your money when you're going to advertise, what's a good source. And the other thing, we do have activities, and the activities is how you get to network, which is where your business comes from. And we have an event, membership appreciation event coming up with the help of Waters and the Crystal Room and the board support, September 24th. It's a free night. We're offering a class beforehand on networking. So you'll have a free class how to network, how to improve it, And then there'll be a structured event over at the Crystal Room. It's free to all of our members. It'll be structured networking. There'll be some free time to network, and then we're going to have a little bit of some speeches. Actually, Frank Saber who will be speaking on behalf of the hospital and how good the chamber is for the large corporation. And then we have another gentleman who will be speaking on a smaller version. He's got a small company and what his perspective is. And what a great event, because it's free, it's 5 to 7, it's not a whole evening, but you can come and you will have other connections. It will be structured networking as well.
Well, you see, that really hits home because back when Waters was small, one of the big programs we did when we were out promoting the product was Lunch and Learn.
Oh.
I mean, it was always, it was the first thing. I was 20 years old,
Yeah.
and I was dragging along an expert, and we'd have these Lunch and Learn. I'd bring in pizza, and these were Mass General, Johns Hopkins,
Yeah.
even NIH. It was before the government said you can't bring in free stuff.
Oh, okay.
Back then it was okay, and you got everybody to come in because they had to eat.
Right.
And the
Right.
one thing we've learned is T-shirts and food draw lab people more than anything. It's like moths to a very bright light. But they walked away with knowledge, and it was really, really important because as an image, we didn't want people to come in and say, well, when I go meet these guys, all they ever do is pitch me their product.
That's right. You're providing
Now,
some value,
At
some
the end
service.
of the day, when we're teaching you how to do something, you're pitching the company, which is just as important in many cases.
Absolutely, if
So-
not more so.
Teaching people that, the sales or, the owner brings value,
Right.
that their company is a good company that you want to associate with. You got 2/3 of the battle right there.
And back to your question about how do you know a company's good company and making referrals, minimally what the chamber does is make connections. And ultimately it's up to me as a business owner to decide with whom I will do business, and what better way than to meet somebody at an event or arrange that one-to-one meeting and get to know them a little bit over time to determine, is this the person I really want to be working with? Is this the best fit? And again, the chamber facilitates that
Well, I
type
would
of interaction.
think that you almost have a natural culling process. Because if I'm going to a chamber event, a networking event, and everybody around me is growling at me, I'm not necessarily going to want to go to those events very often.
Right.
So, the people, I would imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, the people that are active at the networking events are the ones that people like.
Absolutely.
If you're not treating my mother very well, I'm not going to be the shyest person
Right.
at that event.
Right.
And the chances are, well, maybe you don't like my mother, but you love everybody else, but the chances are you're going to treat everybody the same way.
Right. And that's why one of the reasons that we really wanted people to feel welcome, that's why we created the membership/ambassador program, because those will be the people that are the friendly ones, that don't have problems walking into a room that they don't know anybody. Some of us are very comfortable doing that. Other people, it's very difficult. So if we can make that process better and also educate people during the whole process, again, they win and we win because they're getting more benefit out of the chamber. And this year, that was something that the board really wanted to work on, is the value of the chamber and what we could do to help all of our businesses within our areas.
And let me, if I could just add to that, under Siobhan's leadership, the chamber really has put a tremendous focus on value. The ability to connect people is great, and that's what every chamber does. But we didn't want to stop just there because we didn't want it to be just about business after hours or some of the other great events that we do, but really wanted to provide additional value to the members by looking at what it is they need and some of the things that, we've discussed here already, and really put the focus on that and focus as a board on how we structure our meetings. So we're really focusing on the right things that matter to our members and not the things that are more automatic. Let those kind of run themselves, and we focus our time on the things that really, really matter. And each year we're picking off 1 or 2 new things, and Siobhan's leadership has been great there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How many members of the Milford area Chamber of Commerce?
About 350.
So now if I look at 350, how do you break, if you call it the demographics down? Is it less than 10 people, 10 to 100 people? How do the companies break out?
It's all over the place because you have somebody the size of the hospital, and then you have somebody the size of Dave's company. We have some little businesses that only have one person. You know, they're an independent salesperson.
And actually, by the chamber perspective, I cut about 70, 80 paychecks a week, so I'm actually relatively large for
So
chamber
now you're in
member,
the
but
middle of,
I'm in the middle of the
He's-
pack, but
he started
there's
out.
there's a couple solopreneurs, a bunch in our chamber. I think, would you say 60%
Yeah.
are 5 people or less in the company. So we really do have a small business focus. on our
almost
representation.
180 of them are, you'd say, under 5 people.
Right.
Right. Right.
Then between 10 and 100, is that 20%, 30%?
Don't know the exact numbers, but it's probably, I would say, 30%. I think we're probably 10% of
10%
1,000 or
are
over.
big.
Yeah,
Right.
big.
Yeah, the 10% are the larger banks, the hospital, Waters Corporation, Bextel, you know, those within the area. You know, and one thing that we've really pushed this year too is that it belongs to the entire company. So if you're a bank and you have 10 branches, all of your 10 branches employees are
Can come in.
invited for that one membership. So you can take really good advantage of connecting, educating, and doing business with chamber members.
And if there's somebody in that company that has a particular skill, what a great opportunity to give that employee in terms of their development path to say, okay, you're an expert on this. Would you be interested in presenting at a chamber event and be able to show the community your expertise in this one particular
Well,
area?
I can see where, you know, you talk to so many small businesses. I was talking to an engineering firm today, and the founder spends all of his time developing new products. And every once in a while he goes out and tries to sell. And then when you start working with them, you sort of stop and say, you really don't approach people that way, do you? You know, I know you mean well, but oh my God, you need to get some sales training. You know, I would imagine that that would be critical to the small, to, you know, even to your size.
And a chamber is like the classic line, it's like a gym membership. It's all there for you. It's what you put into is what you get out of it. So the resources are there, and few members really realize that everything we do, again, which is another area of focus, is getting that message out. That's one of the intents or goals of the appreciation event in September on the 24th, is really let people know everything we do, because it's there if you take advantage of it.
So September 24th, who are you appreciating?
Our members.
Okay.
Our members, and they can bring a guest. If I've had a couple of phone calls, and I say, absolutely, if you have somebody who might benefit from this or has an interest to hear what we're about, what a perfect opportunity. You know, when we have many events that we have, that when we do have to charge, we have a non-member fee and a member fee. So even if you're thinking about becoming a member, you can attend for a non-member fee. Our door is open to everybody, and we
But
really
it sounds like you're making
spread
it
that word.
reasonable. Because like I say, okay, Steve, you're getting up to the 7,000 person mark.
Right.
Yes, every dollar is still critical because it still comes out of your pocket. I'm assuming you're still private.
Yes.
So you still feel every dollar, but for you to cut a $1,000 check, it's got to be easier than I'm starting out. I've got a brand new company and I'm living on my savings trying to get it going with no revenue. So seeing that you can do things, if the membership is hundreds of dollars,
Right.
then the events really feel like these ought to be very affordable.
They are.
They
Our
are.
business after hours are only $10. We
I
have.
can't go to McDonald's for $10.
You're right.
Right.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
have
look-
lunches that are 25 if you're members. We actually even have a lunch that's $10. We just find a restaurant and invite people, and they pay like $10 or $15 depending
Well,
on
money like
what
that,
we're
if I
offering.
can go learn
That's affordable,
how to better sell,
right?
how to better manage my inventory, I mean, just the little things.
I'll give you an example. Something as simple as the Home and Business Expo I mentioned before, and we hold in March at BBT. It's mostly a B2C, business to consumer event, but there's lots of other businesses there, so it's a tremendous networking opportunity like any expo would be. So if you can have multiple people from your company attend and be able to network with some of the other people there, it's, what better way to get to know some of perhaps your target businesses than to be in that gymnasium with them from 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon.
Well, I mean, it's
Why not?
always, you go to a trade show. When it gets quiet,
Right,
one of us walks around
absolutely.
and you can run into, I don't know how many times when we were at Cambridge, and we're there to sell our clinical trial services.
Right.
But as we walked around, we saw vendors who sold equipment, vendors who sold supplies, and you learn, and all of a sudden, I'm their customer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or we found, other companies who could be my customer.
Right.
And I mentioned that I went to the expo literally the day after I signed on with Brightstar, and I do business with Milford National Bank because I met them at the trade show, and they got back to me right away, sat with me, reviewed my business plan, gave me input. I said, okay, these guys are invested in small business owners. I'm there.
Well, I mean, we've been really lucky. The banks, our local banks, are always there.
Absolutely.
We have tremendous banks in this
You know,
area and
nothing-
tremendous support from them.
Nothing to take away from the big banks.
Right.
But, I remember when I first started out, I was all of 20 years old, going down to be a sales rep for Waters.
Yeah.
Milford Fed got me started, and as silly as it sounds, that's too many decades ago, they make fun of my checks because it's been the same check number.
Oh.
It just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Because after 25 years of being back,
Yeah.
it's the same checking account, but
Yeah.
they've
Yeah.
always been there.
Milford Federal's been great. Milford National's
National, I
been
mean-
great.
Dean,
They
Charles
have been,
River,
all of them,
and
Charles
the-
River, Dean
Dean,
Bank, just
DCU,
about everyone.
yeah,
DCU is
they've all
now
been-
on our board too. We've added a couple spots for there.
Unibank.
Unibank.
Don't want to leave anybody out at this
No,
point.
it's-
but
Rockland Trust.
yeah.
I'm trying to go right
But
down
again,
Main Street.
if I'm
Grafton,
coming in
Suburban.
trying to say, okay, who do I talk to? It's nice that I don't have to just show up at the doors of, Milford National and say,
Right,
does somebody in there love me?
right, right.
You can point me to somebody.
Right.
And as Dave said too, the home show, well, to take that the next step up for our business customers, we joined with 4 other chambers and we're doing a mega expo down at Gillette Stadium. And we've done this for years. So we used to have 3, now we're having 5 chambers at Gillette Stadium. And for a reasonable price, you can have a table down there through our chamber. And I think last year we had about 800 people attend, maybe closer to 1,000. There was problems with a car accident, so a lot of people were calling saying, I can't find you, or how can you not find Gillette Stadium? But on the other hand, what a great opportunity, because it is business to business, and to be there, it's only 4 hours. It's an evening, and you get to look with the glass and down on the field. So it's great. It's 5 chambers. Where do you get, for a very reasonable price, to connect with 5 other chambers and different members? It's huge if you want to make some
That's
connections.
incredible.
Yeah. So we're doing great things around here.
So what other programs do you run that people should know about?
So I think for businesses, something that we've recently started up is an economic development and advocacy committee. So it's comprised of some of the board members and a couple members who are not part of the board but are chamber members. And the goal of the committee is to really focus on the policy matters that impact the business
So
community.
like transportation?
So
or-
transportation is a very good one. As your folks in Milford are aware, there's a movement in the process of looking at trying to get some public transportation going here. And the chamber was approached, and that committee has engaged in the process, and we're meeting with those in the town who are involved in it, as well as we've had some meetings with folks who have been involved elsewhere, and to kind of go to school on them. And then we'll be reaching out this fall and polling the business community to get some input on, what they think the benefits
But
may
Dave, now
be.
for an advocacy group, if I'm a small business, I'm looking to survive.
Mhm.
It's really nice that you're working on regional transportation, but how does that affect me?
How do your customers get to you? Some of your customers may need it. How do some of your employees get there? A good labor market for us is Framingham. Some of the folks we may want to hire may not have the means to get here. Say the hospital's a better example. The hospital may want to hire some folks out of Framingham who would love to work at the hospital, but they can't get from point A to point B.
That's
Some
a very
folks-
good point, because I know I've heard people say, well, wait a minute. I want to support regional transportation so people can go shopping in Framingham. Why do I want to take customers out of Milford?
Right.
But I never thought of the employees.
And it's within Milford, again, I'm not the expert on it yet, I'm learning, but I think the argument for Milford would be, how do I take somebody who may not have the means to get to my part of Milford? So they're gonna shop very local. Now, if I can mobilize them to get on this bus that loops around within Milford, they're probably going to go shopping at whatever
Now,
store they
that
need
would
in
make a
Milford.
lot more sense, because we haven't heard of Milford Loop. You hear in, or you read in the paper about taking people to Framingham.
Yeah, no, we're trying to, we've been approached, and it's local, and I think that would help bring back some people to Main Street. We all know how busy that is, trying to get through the traffic, but if you can get in and off and, visit a couple places and then go up and maybe even see somebody at the hospital, I think that works, again, for the community as well as the business people.
Well, it's not just the traffic. I mean, what I hear all the time is, where do I park?
Right,
If I go down that end of Milford
right,
to, Fortune Boulevard, I know I can find parking. But, you look at the stores on Main Street, okay,
little difficult. They got a little parking spaces off the back, but normally Main Street those parking spaces are full anytime I go up and down. But there are a few facilities in the back, but that works for everybody, because as Dave said, if the hospital or other companies can have people come from another area, get into town, that's bringing money and people into Milford to say, oh, maybe I should look about living here. Look at what they have to offer. So for me, I think that makes a lot of sense.
well,
So-
go ahead.
So the role of the chamber here is really to look at what the impact of that may be on business, and then ultimately, represent our businesses in the way that makes sense. And so being part of a chamber, as the issue progresses, chamber members should be calling up Siobhan, myself, others, and saying, this is what we think. And we may do it in a more formal way than that, but the point is they can always call at any point in time saying, here's my view on what this may do. And ultimately, we will be going to bat for them. We'll be attending an event in Framingham in September 18th, right?
Yes.
That the Baker-Polito administration is hosting to solicit input from the business community on economic policy. So again, our chamber members have the opportunity, and we'll be reaching out to them to kind of, make them aware of it, and the fact that we'll be attending on their behalf, and I think they'll be welcome to attend as well. But if they can't go, there'll at least be 3 of us attending to represent the Milford Area Chamber of Commerce and what we think our priorities are to the Baker-Polito
Well, I mean,
administration.
I can see when you go to Karen, when you go to John Fernandez,
Right.
Or Ryan, Senator Fatman, that when you come in with an opinion that represents 350 businesses,
Right.
and many more people than Al Correia and his family going to that.
Right.
Yeah.
When you start looking at, the whole regional transportation issue, right down to how do we deal with 495.
Favorite subject.
But, I mean, that's critical.
Well, you have a
And
voice
that-
of many, and your representative, and they have been phenomenal to work with. Anytime we've either had questions or, given our side of the story, they actually sit down and do listen. And as Dave said, this whole thing on September 18th, it's going to be at Framingham State College. I'm really looking forward to it, to see what is out there and what they feel the small business person is looking for.
And part of that process as well is understanding that we can, there's the voice of one, there's a voice of the chamber, then there's a voice of even a broader business community, and we have a good relationship with the 495 Metro West Partnership, who does this type of advocacy work as its fundamental mission, and they are much more effective and full-time, if you will, dedicated to that than we could ever be as a volunteer organization. So in addition to whatever connections we may have with our local elected officials, we're limited in what we can do on Beacon Hill. And so we have a partner that we can work with to say, hey, here's what's important to the chamber businesses. What can you do to help us at an advocacy level down on Beacon Hill? And I think that's a tremendous, tremendous resource and asset for the chamber to have, again, for half a cup of coffee a
Really?
day.
Well, it certainly sounds like there's a lot of value here, and that everybody from the small business owner on up to the medium, hopefully going to become the large,
We're getting there.
can all take advantage and learn quite a bit.
Absolutely, and we hope to continue, our plan is to continue to improve what we have, and if people contact us and have suggestions, the door is always open. We talk to everybody, I return all phone calls, and I've learned a lot since I've been doing this. My background was not with chamber work. I've had some interaction before this with chambers, but what we do is so important to the community and the business community, and I really believe that we are having
So how do I get a
success.
hold of the Chamber of Commerce?
All you have to do is look us up on the web or give us a call at 508-473-6700, and we all always answer the phone.
Well, just that number, 473-6700,
Isn't that a good
says you've
one?
been here a while.
Right.
It
Yeah,
does.
it's the original Milford Exchange.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yep. Thank you
Thanks,
for all
Al.
you
Excuse
do.
me.
Thank you. Thank you for
And-
having us.
As always, it's amazing what services, what value you can get by working with people inside of Milford and the area.
Right.
Of course, we focus on the center of the universe here, but
Yeah.
there are 9 other towns that benefit. Thank you for watching. To our 6 loyal viewers, good night. May God bless, and may tomorrow be a better day than today. Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you. Thanks for
Not too long since I've been home.